All right, guys. We are here today. It is Wednesday morning. It is September 4th. Hope you guys are doing good today. So AMD basically stole Nvidia's AI expert, and Nvidia already had a pretty bad day, and it ain't getting much better for Nvidia here. You can see the whole Q is down. We corrected pretty big yesterday. Still kind of in this range. Still kind of flat over a couple months period. But AMD's up. A lot of stuff was red yesterday too. So a lot of stuff is red. I think a lot of stuff hinges on today's Jolts report. We had Dick's Sporting Goods come out this morning. QCOM having some news. But yeah. All right, what's up, Freddie, TK, Ray, Daniel, Maria, Show, Douglas, Alice, Pawn, Steve, Martin. What's up, chat? Yeah. Interesting day. Again, what happened is that Nvidia it's the September slump in effect is what this is. Yeah, so Tom Lee talking about he thinks the market can pull back 7 to 10% this month in September in the coming weeks. He's the co-founder and head of research at Fundstrat. He's pretty accurate about this stuff. And again, he was right. AMD had this news, which is causing it to gap up today. You can kind of see that in the news right there. Well, yeah, gold's down. Most tech is down. Gold's down. Apple's down. Nvidia is obviously down. Nvidia is the big one, though. Nvidia is the one that's weighing the market down. If you look at the opening bell yesterday, Nvidia dropped massively at the open and continued all day, basically, and gapped down overnight. AMD gapping up a little, or bouncing up a little bit overnight, and pre-market up a little bit in pre-market, but AMD still having a pretty big red action like everything else yesterday, and the Q is following suit. You know, the Q is at 458, 459, still in that range. And again, today's Jolts report is big, right? So today's Jolts report is big. You know, the Jolts report today is a really big report, to be honest. We got import exports at 8:30. Not really a big thing. Not really an influential thing, at least. We got NBA 30-year mortgage rates dropping about 25 minutes. But the big report again today is the Jolts report. We also have the Bank of Canada rate decision at 9:45 this morning. But the big one is the Jolts report. And then tomorrow tomorrow and Friday is actually really big also. We've got some big stuff too. And then next week we got CPI, PPI data. So next week's CPI week, which is a huge week, you know. So again, we got a lot of stuff coming out. September bearish month, yeah, for sure. Yeah, hit the like button as you can. Yeah, September historically a bad month if you want to look at why, right? Right, if you look at the S&P 500 average monthly returns, you can kind of see a graph here, and we showed this the other day, but this is why a lot of people are so bearish this month in September is because of this. Like, so here's calendar months since 1928, like their average gains or losses. The reason so many people are bearish this year or this month is because September obviously is the worst month of the market. It's called the September slump. It's pretty consistent. It's not 100%, but you can kind of see. We got a lot of good months: January, April, July, and then December, of course. But the only really bad months are February, May, and September. Good months are December, July, April, and January. The rest are pretty good too, but again, you can kind of see September is the biggest average monthly loss in any given month, or in any month. September's the worst. So, yep, not good. Definitely not good. And market is, look at that. John Disney is back down to the mid-upper 80s. Yeah, I saw that. They canceled the Acolyte, which I have mixed feelings about. I never saw the Acolyte. I never got into it. And I'm a Star Wars guy. But it just, like, I don't know. It just never piqued my interest. I think people who create Star Wars just have to remember that, like, they gotta remember the original fan base. They gotta remember who are actual fans of sci-fi, which are mostly men, So, but again, yeah. And I've liked some of the stuff they've done. I've disliked some of the stuff they've done. I just never got around to watching the Acolyte, and then I saw it was canceled. I don't know how that stock is affecting it. I'm not in Disney anymore. But it does look okay down here. It's just the big problem with Disney overall is its legacy media. I think I've kind of changed my tune on Disney stock. It's legacy media, and I think social media is just eating this one alive. Like eating companies, like eating legacy media companies. When you look at the future, we talked about Dollar General and their obsolete, potential. And I think there's a lot of legacy media companies that are going to go right with that, like Dollar General. People just don't shop there like they used to, and that's going to get worse and worse over time. And I think the same thing goes for legacy media companies. I think social media is taking over, and like even the show you're watching right now is a social media company. Now, I don't get anywhere near the numbers that these guys get, but yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to Disney World this year. Any chance for a reversal on Nvidia today if the Jolts report is positive, or do you think the subpoena news can be redeemed at this point? I don't know, man. I mean, ESPN, I think sports are a little bit more resilient to this type of stuff. So I think ESPN, and I think that purchase by Disney was probably pretty good. I think people still watch TV, and I think specifically one area that has a lot of, for lack of a better word, consolidated older viewers is like sports, like college football. I think with that, you're going to get a big audience from ESPN. You're going to get a lot of people that are not as used to it. I think ESPN is doing a good job of branching out into streaming. Like they have ESPN Plus. They own the UFC, and so they're doing some good acquisitions and some good mergers and some good buyouts and stuff. And so I think in that regard they're okay. And I think the fact of the matter is that people like to watch sports on networks, right? They're used to watching sports on networks. Young people got when I watch ESPN, I'm usually watching ESPN Plus, watching college football, going from game to game, and that's something that young people might do, but older people might not really understand that. I've got a father and I've got in-laws that are not really about the streaming life in that way, right? In regards to like apps and stuff, they're more willing to watch like a TV network, and so I think holding on to them is fine. But I think over time you're gonna see a change. You're gonna see a migration towards streaming and apps and less network based stuff. Amazon, YouTube gonna take a... Yeah, I mean maybe. I mean I think we see little peaks of that in deals like the MLB baseball deal, where a game a week is on YouTube. I think we're gonna see stuff like that. I still think we're in the early stages. I think we're mostly gonna see it on Amazon, and I think streaming networks are gonna start getting the rights to them, just like, and I think it's good, man. Honestly, I'm for it. Like DirecTV got the rights to baseball, and I still haven't signed up, and so I miss all the Astro games just off of principle. Like I'm never paying them money. Yeah. Tesla falling hard yesterday. Tesla all the way down to 208. Look at week. And again, the Jolts report's the big report. AMD's news is significant. Yeah, so I'm looking at some other news. Blackstone is going to buy Australia's Air Trunk for about $24 billion. They agreed to acquire Air Trunk in a deal valuing the Australian data center operator $24 billion, about $6.1 billion US. It includes debt and capital expenditure committed projects, most read from Bloomberg. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing about Disney that I wonder, and I think one of the things that Disney does well, what is Disney's enterprise value? Because last time I remember listening to them, they didn't have a lot of debt and they had a lot of cash, which is always good in just terms of like enterprise value for it. Let me see. All right, guys. All right, so I'm trying to see what Disney's enterprise value is. All right, guys. Sorry. All right, gold. Yeah, so I heard a lot about gold falling down. Yeah, so what price would you buy Nvidia? I don't know. I'm starting to consider buying it down here. It looks cheap, no? I mean, a lot of people are gonna freak out when I say that, but I don't think it looks horrible, right? I don't think it looks horrible. Yeah, so the SEC is fining 6 major credit rating agencies over failure to keep electronic records. Moody's rating agency, including at a senior level, were communicating about credit rating activities through text messages, as well as like other mobile apps like WhatsApp on their personal devices, according to an SEC. They said, quote, "We have seen repeatedly that failures to maintain and preserve required records can hinder the staff's ability to ensure that the firms are compliant with their obligations and the commission's ability to hold accountable those that fall short of those obligations, often at the expense of investors," end quote. That's the deputy director of the SEC's Division of Enforcement. And so, yeah, that is what, another big news that came out the market today. Moody Investor Service and S&P Global Ratings agreed to pay hefty fines of $20 million civil penalties each. Fitch Ratings agreed to pay $8 million on that news. So, yeah. Catching a falling knife? Well, I mean, you can't. It depends on how you look at it, Scrub. Scrub is a guy who can't get no love from me. No, all right. But yeah, it depends on how you look at it, okay? Because this is, in my opinion, this is the way you have to look at it. You're talking about short-term, like, dip buys. And I understand catching a falling knife is incredibly risky, which it is, of course, which it is. But if you dollar cost average into Nvidia and you hold longer term, right, meaning like years, it's probably going to be okay relative to where it's at now. It's decently down from its highs. It's been a really strong company. Its revenue has been increasing. Its margins are getting better. Its EPS has been growing. And so all of those things are optimistic signs. Now, the big issue with Nvidia, if we're looking at it objectively, it's definitely not a sure thing. I'll give you that. It's certainly not a sure thing for Nvidia. Main reasoning behind that is because the PE ratio is still more than double what it should be. Let's say a good PE ratio is 20. Nvidia's PE ratio is like 60 to 70 right now, right around 60. So it's literally 3x what it should be. And that's not good, right? But PE ratio is not the end-all be-all of price either. And we also have to look at, the example I always give people is this. All right, imagine how good AI is, right? Like, here's AI's boom, right? Like, let's say this little line is AI's boom. And let's say this is where we are now, right? Like, we have this little pullback. Let's say that's where we are now. All right. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, how much better does AI get? And in my opinion, if you're looking at AI objectively, over the next few years, AI is going to get way better, exponentially better. It's going to be much more powerful in terms of production. It's going to get much more efficient. And this long-term trend is going to look like this eventually. At least it's possible it does. It doesn't mean it will. It's possible, especially regarding Nvidia specifically. And so if we're here in terms of growth, I think buying dips and pullbacks and moments of weakness is probably the right move. Again, I might be wrong. And I think on the other end of that, just to be objective about it, I think the biggest chance that we get a massive market crash is from Nvidia. I think if Nvidia starts to turn down to like $75 a share, which I think is pretty low probability, but it could happen. If Nvidia starts to dump down to $75 a share, that might stroke a market crash. That's plausible. I'm not saying it's probable, but it could happen. It's possible. Is what I meant to say. Not plausible. It's possible. I'm not saying it's probable, but it's possible. And so, yeah, I think that's the way we have to look at it. I think you have to imagine where AI is going to be in the next 10 years, 15 years, and that's going to be way better. And so if you're able to hold Nvidia and other microchips long term, that's probably the play. At the same time, though, I always bring up the internet example. The internet was that big technology, and the internet went like this, and then we downtrended for years following it and didn't rebound for like almost a decade back up to where we were. And so something like this is very possible too. Again, I'm not here to have a crystal ball and predict the future with 100% accuracy. That's not me. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. I do trade off stream. You're not going to see all my trades. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader or investor, whatever, all that good stuff. But I think it makes sense, and I think we can only look at different outcomes that might potentially make sense. Yeah. Right, 100% scrub. I mean, I don't know. Day trade, I think it depends on the time frame, right? Like, I think as a day trade scrub, you could probably buy a dip from extension right now and at least get like a short-term bounce like this that happens at the open. I think this is possible too. This is something that I use a lot based off of like recent extension, targeting the open for upside potential because of downward extension. And if it starts to crack these lows, I could just get out of it and just not take those trades and just get out of it. It starts to crack those lows. But like a probable thing, I think, in these situations, it is at least a small rebound back. Maybe we come back up there, test the previous close, and you can take advantage of this type of move, and then it comes right back down. That's possible too. We can only speculate or theorize on what it might do. But I guess the point is like short term, the extension's on the downside. And so we could rebound back short term and then continue downward. I think medium term's where the most risk is, because I think if we do something like this, where we're here, rebound, boom, rebound, boom, I think that's possible. As well as, like, I think we have to look at crash probabilities objectively here as well. I think a situation in which I think if Nvidia just starts to turn, right? Like, let's say this is the opening bell today and Nvidia just does something like this, which is low probability, and it drops down to under $100, down to $70, $80, $90 a share. That could stroke a market crash. It really could. And I think we have to look at that as well. Again, I think it's low probability, but it's possible. So we'll see. I'm trying to look at all the different sides of this because I really don't know. You did claim you're the top three. Yeah, top three worst trader of all time ever, Raven, for sure. Definitely top three-ish, 2.5-ish worst, I think. But yeah. Yeah. Khan says John is usually right. Yeah, I mean, look, if you look back at the history of me predicting things, I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I definitely feel like I'm over 50%, though. Again, I might be wrong. I'll have to go back and check. But I caught a lot of stuff that eventually happened. You know, I as well as, like, I told people the market didn't have to crash when it didn't, and it rebounded, and hopefully people didn't get too scared. And so my accuracy's been pretty solid, I think, in terms of predictions on different stocks and stuff. Is it perfect? No. But I think it's been pretty solid. You know, I think people watch me because they understand. I try to be balanced. I really do. I'm not really shilling for either side. You get some people that are like, oh, it's the end of the world, the market's going to crash. And then you got other people that are like, oh, you know, the market's going to bounce up. This is like, ignore the crash people. And I'm usually somewhere in the middle, or at least I try to be. A finance YouTuber is saying he doesn't know. Right, but to be fair, Ty, my gimmick is saying I don't know, you know? Like, the whole theme of my channel is I don't know, right? Which I guess is how I'd like it. Microsoft, good chances for a bounce back. Again, like I said, I think Microsoft is the same thing where long term it's fine. Short term, we're probably a little extended from yesterday's dip into the opening bell, but that we could get something in which we rebound the first part of the day and then continue to dip down for the rest of the day. Like, that's possible. Again, we also have the Jolts report, and that's going to throw a wrench in any predicting thing that we have today, because if Jolts comes in high or low, that might influence price action and make everything else insignificant. Yeah, definitely top three-ish. Bro, September is historically the worst month of the year. That it is. And again, everything's down pretty big already. You know, even if we look at, like, the Q is a little bit tech heavy, you know. But again, guys, where most people get it wrong is this. All right, this is something I watch it. Like, I have this big community. I watch it regularly. I hear what people say. I'm here to tell you what people get wrong the most. What people get wrong the most is people think that they know for sure what's going to happen. And that's a silly mindset to have if you understand the stock market and you watch it regularly. Thinking you know 100% of what's going to happen is silly, right? We have to look at all the different sides, which I tried to do. Again, Nvidia could dump down to $80 a share and dump the market and cause a mini crash or a larger one. That's possible. Nvidia could rebound today based off of yesterday's extension because we dropped a lot yesterday. Just yesterday alone, Nvidia dropped from 117 all the way down to 106. Really, we'll call it 105. Because that's kind of where it hit. So just yesterday, Nvidia's down 10%. 10% just yesterday for Nvidia. Just the NASDAQ 100, it was at about 475 yesterday. It is now at 458. So just the NASDAQ, we'll call it 450, yeah, 458. Just the NASDAQ is down 3.5% yesterday. Again, that's a lot of extension short term. And so generally, again, when anything is down this much, usually I look for at least a little bit of a bounce back. You know, very rarely do things just go dump, 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 right? Like usually it goes dump, small rebound, dump, you know, so usually we're going to get something like that is what I'm targeting. And again, I might be wrong. I'm throwing different scenarios out there. I don't think anybody should pretend we know exactly what's going to happen. I think that's silly. Plausible deniability. Right. Yeah, for sure. You understand, Mike. You know. Considering you're top 3 in the world, you don't know. Yeah, definitely top 3 not knowing traders in the world for sure. This is one of the few honest stock market channels on the whole internet, and that's why we grow. That's why we get, you know, a good bit of regulars here. Especially during big news events. Well, bots are always involved. So he said, quick chart observation. Yesterday's chip crash didn't seem to be a stop loss spiral. So does that mean that bots were not involved? Not necessarily. You know, bots are usually involved at least to a certain extent. They might be less involved with the move yesterday. But from my understanding, the move yesterday is catalyst driven from Nvidia having bad news and weighing the market down, especially tech. Right. The point is no one knows. Expecting someone to know is your folly. Right. And being too arrogant about what's going to happen is usually people's folly. Like, especially, no offense, but especially bearish traders. Bearish traders see red action like this. Right. And where rookie traders will say, hey, this looks weak. Let me short some more. Right. And then what happens on the rookie traders is that they end up shorting it, let's say right here. And then because it's so extended on the downside, it rebounds back up and they lose money. You know, that's what rookie traders do. What experienced traders try to do is they look at this big downward move and they say, hey, it's kind of extended on the downside now. This thing's down big percentages. The likelihood of this happening is actually much higher. Right? Like this is the bottom of the range. Are you going to short the bottom of the range? Probably not. It's probably a little extended. But again, with that said, anything can freaking happen. It can go up, down, or sideways. Nobody knows. But you just can't get too arrogant about which way it heads. You know, that usually stems from bias. Like if I really want the market to go down, I might, you know. Yeah, we got trolls. Usually they're just mad I'm incredibly handsome, you know. I know they're going to screw as many traders as possible. Maybe. Bro says everything and nothing at the same time. Definitely top 3-ish at saying everything and nothing simultaneously. John, you're the man. I try, man. I try. Yeah, the Jolts job report's at 10 a.m. We do have import-export prices at 8:30. I think everybody here knows I kind of like going back and forth with the trolls. It's kind of fun for me. You know, again, I have the debater personality type, and I know people are going to bring up a lot of puns for that name. Don't do it. I have the debater personality type according to the Myers-Briggs personality test, which means that, like, I kind of like a bit of verbal sparring. I really do. I like using logic against people. Your voice is really made for this. Hey, we appreciate it. still can't figure out if I have a high-pitched voice or a low-pitched voice. Again, I know when I wake up in the morning, my voice is like Batman. But I guess that's everybody, you know. Now, by the time now hits, I can't tell if my voice is high-pitched or low-pitched. I know it's not as high-pitched as some of my friends. I got some of my friends who talk, and they sound like squeaky. They're like, hey, guys, you know. And so I know my voice isn't that high. I guess it's a medium range. Somebody told me one time I sound like a lady named Karen who smoked cigarettes all her life. And maybe that's true. Crackly in the morning, yeah. Voice is mid-range, it's just crackly, yeah. Yeah. What about a compounding lesson for Don? I mean, here's the problem with that. That whole interaction is this. This is the real reason I banned him is this. Okay, so I use this compounding formula, right? Like, let's say we want to track, you got $100,000, you want to track a 20% gain a month, 20% gain a year, and how long it'll take you to grow 100K with 20% gains a year. You do 100K times 1.2, which means that you add 20% every time you hit equal. 20% add, it's 120. 20% add of 120 is 24, like so forth and so on, right? And every time you hit equal, right? Well, during that moment, really I was testing it. I didn't think the formula would work if I went like this times like 30. And after I did it, I immediately corrected it, zeroed it out, and like went back to doing it the way I always do, which I've done probably like 30 times. You know, I've done this formula over and over again on stream because it's a compounding formula is a good formula for people to understand, right? And like that dude was just so desperate to point out a flaw, even though I acknowledged the flaw on stream, that he just went really, really overboard. Even though I was like, hey, I don't think you can do it like that, meaning multiply it times 30. And you know, he just got really loud and just caused a lot. Like he was so desperate to criticize that it kind of, what's good about it is that it kind of makes people like that float to the surface. Like you kind of see people who are being weird and you can just kind of get them out of here easily, and that's something that did. So I guess in that regard I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I've done that compounding formula. It's very simple. It's a very easy formula. You just add, you know, whatever percentage you want to it, and every time you hit equal, it compounds. Again, you can't multiply it. It just doesn't work that way in terms of compounding, which is, again, something that I acknowledged on the stream before he even said anything. So for him to get that upset or weird because he thought that he found, like, it's just, you know, again, you can tell the people that are really desperate to criticize, and yeah. Right, some people thrive off bad vibes, 100%, you know. Right, like, yeah, so say an easier way is to figure out how much you're going to pay in interest, you know. So you get a $100,000 loan at 10% a month, which you should never do unless it's like a hard money loan, right? 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month, 7 month, 8 month, 9 month, 10 month, 11 month, 12 month. In 12 months, that 100K is going to be freaking $313,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And that's a monthly compounding formula. That is, right? So that's adding 10% a month or whatever I did. I can't remember. Yeah, it was 10%. And this is how people used to get in trouble with the mob, right? The mafia would loan people money at a super high percentage, you know? So like the longer they would hold it, you know, if they held it for weeks or months, depending on the cycle of it, they would let a small loan turn into these big freaking, you know, these big debts that they had to pay. And that's where they ended up having to give up their businesses as a whole. Eventually they'd come along and they'd be like, yo, you know, you just got to hand over the business now. You owe me $313,000. And the people would be like, dude, you only loaned me $100K. And they'd be like, interest, you know. So yeah, it could go quick. Maybe we need to get to a point where Nvidia isn't on a pedestal controlling the whole market. Yeah, I mean, we've been like that for years, though. Nvidia has been controlling the whole market for years. You know, and yeah. Yeah, that lady smoked her whole life. Yeah, listen. You know, top 3 ladies in the world for sure. Bears be like spies at 97% from its all-time high. The crash is here. Yeah. So what you saying is Don trades insecurities? I heard he's top 3 in the world at that. Yeah. It's Eastern Standard Time. Regarding 10 a.m., it's Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. Yeah, so I remember when I was young, right, I would call girls, right, and the girls would know it was immediately me. So I'd be like, hey, and they would be like, hey, John. So they knew my voice. So I knew my voice was like, I knew it was a very telling voice, I guess, is because they knew me. I guess that's probably because I sound like a freaking chain smoker, even though I don't smoke at all, right? I'm not saying I never used to smoke cigarettes, but yeah, I don't smoke at all. Yeah, 9 a.m. for us in the South, 100%. We're at Central Time. I heard the government wants to break up Nvidia, too much monopoly. I don't think they should. I think that's crazy, though, Texas trades. I think it's crazy because you got other companies that are much worse at that than Nvidia. Nvidia is not anywhere close to some of these other big companies. And so breaking them up and for being a monopoly silly, again, you got to understand what started this, which is Rockefeller. Rockefeller and Roosevelt got at it like 100 years ago. Rockefeller was one of the first people to really do it like super well, where he would just cut out the middleman, and eventually he became the richest person in the world doing so, right? Well, Roosevelt came along and tried to bump him down a peg and made him break it up, So all the big oil companies that like I might, some of these might be wrong, but like Texaco, Exxon, Chevron, Shell, like most of these were companies that were forced to break up through monopoly laws. Most of these were all one company at one point. So all these oil companies that now were all one oil company, and eventually they had to break up two in a similar fashion to that. So let me see if I can find again stating I might be wrong. Yeah, so I did see Tesla start to bounce up again. So yeah, Exxon, Chevron, and others originated from a single entity, which was Standard Oil, a giant oil company founded by John Rockefeller in 1870. It was one of the first large-scale multinational corporations, and it dominated the oil industry. At its peak, it controlled about 90% of oil refining and transportation in the U.S., and he achieved this dominance through aggressive business tactics like undercutting competition, securing favorable deals, and acquiring rivals. If you ever seen the movie... what's the movie with There Will Be Blood, right? Very similar thing that Rockefeller, kind of inspired by Rockefeller and what he did, but yeah, in 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was a monopoly that violated the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, and they ordered it to be broken up into 34 smaller companies. And so again, Exxon, Chevron, BP, ConocoPhillips, all breakups of the original Standard Oil company. I don't know if you guys know that, but this is a real story. Yeah. And so that's kind of what started the big monopoly push, like breakups. Yeah, but yeah, the Jolts report can influence the market for sure, right? The Jolts report is just a big report. I'll put a timer up. We got some time. It is. We still got about an hour, and we got an hour and 47 and a half minutes. But yeah, but what Rockefeller did. What Rockefeller did is he cut out the middleman, and in the early days, transportation costs were a big hurdle for oil companies. Like they had to, ship their oil across the country, and it was a problem, right? So Rockefeller found a way to reduce this by negotiating with railroads directly, and he got lower rates for shipping oil, and this allowed him to get around the middlemen who controlled transportation, because transportation of oil was like a big business, right? Like it was this big business. You had to pay to get it transported. Well, Rockefeller went straight to the railroads and got lower rates for oil. He acquired companies that handled different aspects of oil production, from refining to transportation to distribution, and from owning every part of that. Like he owned production, refining, transportation, and distribution. Like he owned every single aspect of it. Again, he cut out the middlemen. Standard Oil's costs went down dramatically, as well as he did like secret deals with railroads. And he also had rebates, which he secretly received money back from railroads for every barrel of oil shipped, even for oil shipped by his competitors. They allowed him to undercut competitors and drive them out of business, leading to his near monopoly. Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy, Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy, is the one who did his trust busting. He broke up monopolies in 2006. He filed a lawsuit against Standard Oil under the Sherman Act, leading to the eventual breakup of the company in 1911. And again, that's when it broke up into all these different pieces of oil. Honestly, you see a very similar thing with Amazon, right? That's why I said, when somebody said, talking about Nvidia being a monopoly, I said there's other companies that are much worse at this. Cough, cough, Amazon, right? What has Amazon done that's helped it basically take over business? Amazon, instead of having things shipped through FedEx and having things shipped through UPS and all these different standard mail services like middlemen, transportation, what did Amazon do? Right? Amazon started creating their own shipping service, right? Where they were able to ship using their own trucks, their own people. And what did this do? This drastically reduced costs and made things much more efficient. I don't know about cost reduction, but it made things much more efficient, and so that you could order something and get it sent to your home within a day, right? This basically meant Amazon ruled retail across the world, mail order retail at least. A very similar thing to what Rockefeller did, and once that infrastructure was built for Amazon, again, you got to just see how efficient everything became with it. Very smart move, but also some could argue it's the same thing. So a higher Jolts report signals more job openings and a stronger economy. A lower Jolts report means the opposite, a weaker economy, but maybe less inflation issues. So it could be either one. Yeah. Well, Shell was actually a part of it, TDX, but Shell, no, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I think I was wrong on Shell. I think it was BP that I was thinking of, but yeah, you're correct. BP was, yeah. It later acquired parts of Standard Oil of Indiana, right? Yeah, Jeff Bezos, man. Again, I try to tell my son, man, like kids at school will call him like nerdy. And people called me nerdy my whole life, right? They said I was weird. They said I was nerdy, you know. What I tell my son is that nerds rule the world. Like, ignore anybody that tells you, that says different, you know. You can look at Jeff Bezos, 25 years ago. Really nerdy dude. Money can change a lot of things. And you can see it in Jeff Bezos. Now he looks like, you know. Now he looks like he's in a biker gang. Yeah, so Japan might raise interest rates again this October. I couldn't imagine Japan raises rates, especially with the statement that they put out after this last, like the yen carry drama. You know, so to put this into perspective, traders have historically used the Japanese yen to get cheap leverage on money, right? So they'll use cheap interest yen and they'll buy up a bunch of U.S. assets with it, like financial assets like stocks and bonds and stuff like that. And they do it because they had cheap access to it. It's cheap. It's low interest, right? Rates are low in Japan. And so when the yen carry drama happened, the Bank of Japan raised rates for the Japanese yen, causing it to be more expensive. And that ultimately made investors unload their U.S. positions that they had bought using the cheap leverage of the yen, and caused the yen carry drama and mini little correction that we got. This was like, what, 3 weeks ago? A month ago, maybe? But again, one of the things, so when you look at what happened in the market during this period of time, and you look at a yearly chart, this drop was from the yen carry trade. So again, you can kind of see this is when it happened, right around here, I think, late July. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is when it happened, right here. But one of the things that made it rebound back up is because the Bank of Japan immediately came out saying that they were not going to be as hawkish moving forward. Right, that they probably weren't going to raise rates moving forward, and so if they're talking about raising rates again, I think it might scare the market. Let me see. Yeah, so they're considering raising rates again, signals pointing towards a potential hike in the coming months. The Bank of Japan governor recently made hawkish comments indicating that rate increases would continue if inflation and economic conditions align with their expectations. Follows their rate hike in June or July. And again, guys, for people that don't understand it, this is a rate hike. Raising rates is a rate hike. Rate hike doesn't mean rate decision. Rate hike means raising rates, which the U.S. is certainly not going to do. Is Dollar Tree really crashing? We talked about this yesterday. See, man, I should have known, dude. I should have seen it. I should have seen it. We talked about this yesterday. I'm a little bummed out I missed on this type of thing, too. But again, we talked about this. Remember, so what did we talk about? Is we talked about Dollar General going down a huge percentage, and then the incoming Dollar Tree earnings, with considering the massive dump in Dollar General, we could see a similar move in Dollar Tree. So we just did. Dollar Tree dropped over 10%, down from $83 down to $73. So over 10% drop. First they mock, and then it's crickets. Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, I don't know. So what is TMF? TMF is 20-year Treasury Bulls. Is this based off of yields or prices? It's hard to tell. Because those are the opposite thing. Yields are going to do the opposite thing of prices and bonds, especially 20-year bonds. You need to buy some long-term bonds, TLT. Yeah. You could hedge. Yeah, we got 700 people here live. I appreciate the love, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, if you want to check out Topstep, Topstep is a sponsor of mine. They pay me money, so I'm biased for sure. But again, if you want to day trade, Topstep X is the place to do it, right? Topstep X is powerful. Why? Because there's zero commission, right? So yesterday we did get funded, and we are going to trade that funded account today because we got funded on Topstep. Yeah, we got funded on Topstep. Let me activate that account right now. We got funded on Topstep yesterday. And again, Topstep has zero commissions. And in the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, basically the SPY and Q. You can day trade gold. You can day trade some currencies, and there's no PDT rule, right? Topstep has literally zero commissions, right? You can see, yeah, it's literally zero commissions. And that's a powerful thing. They use trading view charts. Just powerful stuff for Topstep X. Again, I'm going to activate my account right now. And again, Topstep gives you a demo. They test your skill with it. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you the same amount. Base one's $50K. It's only $49 a month. Again, if you want to learn to day trade, do not risk thousands of dollars of your own money. It just doesn't make sense to. Don't listen to anybody else. Like, look, the reality is you're probably going to lose no matter where you go, right? Doesn't matter whether you go to Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade, whether you go to Schwab, E-Trade. or whether you go to Topstep X and Topstep, almost all day traders lose. It's so much cheaper to lose on Topstep than it is to risk your own money, right? And again, you still learn how to trade under pressure. You still have some risk, except you're not risking thousands of dollars. Again, they're going to give you a demo. The base one's $50K. It's $49 a month. If you can make $3K in profit without losing $2K first and following their rules and conditions, they fund you $50K, 90% split. They've paid out over $40 million, been around for over 12 years, have some of the best rules in the game in funding, and Topstep X has 0 commissions. You know, small amount of fees. It's like less than $3 fees per trade. And so it's just the way, right? It's just the way. But again, I'm a little biased, but again, it's just a great way to learn. It's a lot cheaper to lose here. If you're good enough to pass it, you get between $50K to $300K in funding, I think, or maybe it's $150K with a 90% split. Just really, really useful. Really, really useful. Again, check out the link if you want to check them out. What's up with AMD? Almost 2% up. AMD is up because of the news right here. So AMD basically got Nvidia's AI expert. So AMD appoints AI industry veteran Keith Stryer to expand global AI capabilities and engagements. He most recently served as vice president of worldwide AI initiatives at Nvidia. So again, that's why AMD is up, is because they hired one of Nvidia's dudes. Yeah, that is what's going on with them. That's why they're up. Let me go ahead and activate this account. All right, we are now funded. Boom, we are now funded. Yeah, we are here. We are funded on Topstep X. All right, guys. So again, in 5 minutes, we have import-export data. Not a huge data release, just not that big, right? But it's still relevant. It's still important. I don't know how much it's going to move markets. Where? Don't think it'd be like a certificate or something. Well. All right, so part of me wants to buy this dip. I don't know if we're going to or not. Yeah. Should bounce today, 548. Are we in a bear market now? Broadcom. Yeah, we got AVGO earnings. Yeah, Jolts is a big report. It really is a relatively big report. Yeah, again, anybody that watched the stream saw me get funded yesterday on this. Yeah, so here's the Express account. We are live. We got our Express thing up. Again, the no commission thing is really dope because, okay, what happened yesterday, I don't know if it'll let me look at my trades anymore, but what happened yesterday is I got up to where I was up, like, I got to make 3K. I got up to where I was up like 2,850. So I needed to make like 150 bucks, right? And the risk of taking big NASDAQ positions is that it's big. Like, that's a lot of size. And so I could basically give back all my profit if I'm not careful. And so what I was able to do is trade micros. Like, micros are much less like range. They're much smaller size. And there's no commissions as well. Per trade, it's like $3. You know, so I can take micro positions up to 5 micro contracts with no commissions and relatively safely make 150 bucks in profit to get funded. And that's what I did live on stream yesterday. That's a powerful thing, right? And that's what people underestimate. Like, Topstep has some of the best rules in funding, and the no commission thing is a game changer for it, because what that allows you to do is trade small size. I can take small micro positions and slowly but surely grow my account, knowing that I can take up to 5 contracts without like a big amount of risk, right? Without me giving back like 40 to 50% of the profit I've made to commissions. And that's a useful thing. Oh yeah, we got the trade balance data coming out right now. What did import-export data? So yeah, import-export data, trade balance dropping right now. It's expected at minus 78.8 billion. Yeah. So again, we'll see what it looks like. NBA data showed up. Here's the trade balance data. Again, minus 78.8 billion is what's expected. It came in at minus 78.8, exactly as expected for import-export prices. So import-export prices were balanced. It came in exactly as expected. Again, minus 78.8 billion. Again, that's not the biggest report. The big report today is going to be the Jolts report coming out. You think the VIX is coming down today? Don't you think the VIX would be higher today on a day of a massive report? Like, we already had the VIX rise a bunch yesterday. The VIX is up to almost 23. But I think with the Jolts report today, we might get more volatility. It just depends on what the market does at the open. Right, 100% pawn. And that's my plan. Is to slow but steady build up profits in micros. All right, we're going to take our first trade on Topstep X right now. And again, I think I'm going to buy this dip. We are, I'm going to switch to micros. Oh, I'm already in micros. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm going to buy this dip. Try to add to it if we pull back a little bit. Although I don't know if I necessarily like this range here. I might be in a bad... I didn't really look at the NASDAQ. But it's all right. We're right at the 200 EMA, which is not really my favorite spot. But it's all right. Alright, so we got 2 contracts and micros, and you can kind of see how much smaller size is here. I'm just kind of playing around. It's my first time trading a funded account on Topstep X in a minute. I've had funded accounts on Topstep X before, but it's been a while. Slow but sure, you know. Once we get 5, yeah, once we get, I think it's like 5 trading days. So we're down. All right, so we got 4 contracts here. We are at the bottom of the range. I'll add 1 more to this, but I'm just prepared to cut this if I need to. We're right at the low of the day, the bottom of the range, so I don't mind giving, yeah, we have to cut that. So we're out. See, and the fees are even less on micros. That's nice. Okay, so we ended up losing about 70 bucks, which is fine. Very small loss. And again, we'll wait. We'll come back to it. Like, I like this spot, but I also think it's kind of risky, you know. Watching Dollar Tree. Look at the VIX on the right side. I'm gonna put up the VIX here. Man, we're just getting some big red action coming through. So we cracked lows and then we immediately started to bounce back. And now we're cracking lows again. Very volatile open, to be honest. Yeah, so 5 days of $200 plus, which is fine. So then you can start withdrawing. Yeah. But yeah, the market's starting to test lows here right now. So the market's really starting to crack lows. We still got a little bit of time before the Jolts report. Yeah, the market's looking weak. And I think the key with Topstep is to add to winning positions, not losing positions, right? So you can DCA on Topstep, but I think adding to winning positions is the move. It's the way. Hey, what's up, Daphne? VIX will 100% fill the gap. Yeah, the VIX is up, which means volatility is high. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's good to know. I'm kind of playing around on Topstep X. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Stans? Yeah, I've been trying to trade micros, but we just got so much bear action short term. So the report coming out today is called the Jolts job report. The Jolts job report comes out at 10 o'clock. It's a massive report. And again, we will be live streaming it. Yeah, so we have seen a lot of red action short term. If I put up like the QQQ here, the Nasdaq's fallen to the bottom of the pre-market range here. And we took some small trades. I bought a little bit of this dip, but again, I'm gonna just take 2 contracts max. You can see we've had some small losses. I want to see if we can, the idea of this is to see if we can kind of creep up higher to the top of this range. I see this sideways range right here. I just want to see if we can catch the top of it. And 2 contracts is pretty small, so if we lose, we could probably be a little bit more patient with this. And I think I'm lacking patience as well. I think one thing I need to do with micros is I need to scale down and let the longer term range play out. Alright. Alright, I'll update you guys on this one. Alright, sorry guys. Having to do something. Alright, buddy. Hey, I love you, man. Have a good day at school, bud. I love you. Have a good day. Alright. Alright guys, sorry. Talking to my family. So we are in a good green trade. We already took profit at least once on this one. We are starting to ride it back up. I'm going to add to this. See if we can get a little bit more green action. And we've got a nice little stop that we could use. We already took a little bit of profit off of it, so I can let it kind of try to fight its way back up. And I can give it time. Kind of middle range right now, so it's kind of not the most opportune time, but we can let it rise some more. There we go. All right, we took another piece off. Trying to make a little bit more here. We can just cut that. Yeah, so we just made about 40, 50 bucks just now. Not too bad, just kind of chipping away. All right. Would you draw a long-term trend line from daily or 4-hour? It depends on how long you plan on holding it. No one streams this live. This channel rocks. Hey, thanks so much. Yes, I do. I get a commission. It's an affiliate link is what that's called, but yes. Where was it? Alright, well, now I got a bunch of them. That's okay. What's up, Reclaim? Alright, thank you, baby. I need to shave my beard anyway, you know. Alright, I love you. Alright. So we did continue to get a rise. Again, the thesis I told you guys worked, which is that I was a little bit off in managing mine. But remember, I told you guys we were at the bottom range, and I wanted to see if we would do this, and this is exactly what we just did. So far, so good. We made a little bit of money on it. Wish I would have made more, but that's alright. And again, we got the Jolts report live today, guys. Jolts report at 10 o'clock. Big stock market news. Again, AMD has basically hired one of Nvidia's ex-employees. Yeah, Topstep X is dope, dude. It really is. It's nice. Every time I say dope, I feel like... what's the guy from... Every time I say dope, I feel like this guy right here. Okay. Like, I know it's the same reason I don't feel like I can't wear Jordan 1s appropriately, right? I can't wear Jordan 1s appropriately because listen, there was a time, I went to Disney World years ago. And again, my in-laws are very, I'm not going to say judgy because they're good people. They're nice people. But they're definitely not, they don't wear sneakers. And I'm like a big sneaker wearer. I always liked Air Max and stuff. I tried wearing Jordan 1s one year. And now in my family pictures, I look like this guy. I feel like this guy in my family pictures. And again, I'm not judging you if you wear Jordan 1s. Because that's like the style. My son wears Jordan 1s and he loves them. My daughter does sometimes too, right? But anytime I say dope, I feel like this guy. Top 3 oldest stock traders in the world right now. I tune in for every news drop, best channel around. Hey, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. I was thinking of, what's the movie where they're all trying to rob the place? Look at this movie. Hey, listen. I'm not going to say we were right. Look at that. Did we not range it exactly like I said? Look at that. When you're right, you're right. You love to see it. And this is the problem. Right? It's like... People see this move here, and they automatically assume that this is going to break lows. A flaw in their thinking, right? This is a flaw. This is flawed thinking. Why? Because this is the bottom of the range. Every single time the stock has gone there, what happens? It bounces back, it bounces back, it bounces back, right? That makes this sideways looking range, especially leading into like a big economic report like the Jolts report. It's very possible that we just chop leading into it. And so the real problem is like a lot of traders get so wrapped up in trading momentum that whenever this thing starts to test lows, they assume it's going to crack lows and just turn into this big dump. But again, like imagine how common that is. Right? Imagine how common it is that a stock breaks lows and continues to fall down. It's not very common. Meaning, what? 1 out of every how many times is that actually going to happen where this is going to break lows and continue? Maybe 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 times. And so what should you try to trade? A 1 in 6 scenario or a 5 in 6 scenario? Like which one is better, right? Trying to attack this big, exciting, short breakdown or attacking this choppy range? And for me, I'm going to attack this choppy range. You know, I'm going to attack the thing that happened 5 out of 6 times instead of targeting the more exciting thing that happened 1 out of 6 times, right? And this is where a lot of traders, again, get it wrong. They try to attack these low of the day shorts, these high of the day breakouts, but that's the bottom of the range. That's where traders are taking profit. Traders are covering their short positions there, which causes a spike in buys and a move right back up. VIX is coming down a little bit. And again, this is a big rebound in the Q. Nvidia is still fighting its way back. Nvidia is now over the 200 EMA, over the volume weighted average price. John, do you have a website or IG page? I want to bounce something off of you. I'm Real Entrepreneur, former NFL player, did my master's. Send me an email at beginnertrading@gmail.com. Again, I'm going to tell you this, though, and I'm not saying this is you, but if you try to scam me, if you're not who you say you are, I'm going to do my due diligence and research, you know. It's not going to work, right? I'm not going to click any link you give me. I'm not going to sign up to anything, like, just to preface everything. I get people that message me all the time, and yeah, again, I'm just warning you. Listen, I don't want to reject people that want to do business with me, but I'm just very careful. You know, it just causes weirdness a lot of the time. Like I want to do business with people, I really do, but I also have limited time. I'm a family man, you know. I got a family and kids and stuff. So, but yeah, you can message me. I'll listen to it. But again, just to clarify, I might not be interested. It just depends. 121 price. Need help? Should I hold? I have no idea if you should hold Nvidia. What Reservoir Dogs is what I was thinking of. Yo, John, I'm 36. Caught myself calling something fat the other day. For me, when I was growing up, listen, I'm in my 30s. For me, growing up, it was tight, right? Like tight was the slang we used. Like that's a tight old that's a tight A book. You know, that's a tight A truck. That truck is tight. You know, that book is tight. That movie was tight. You know, like that was our slang. You know how old I am, bro. Like I said, I'm an old man. This is me right here. That's me right here. And I used to skateboard too. I used to skateboard. If I went to the park, I would look like this guy right here. But I could double kick flip and do a bunch of cool stuff, so. Can I send you my crypto wallet? You sell for me? No. No, I can't. Bruh. Yeah. Brew. Bruv. I don't even understand the slang nowadays. I'm like the old man that says get out of my yard at this point in time. All right, guys. You guys ready? Bussin'. I make fun of my daughter with bussin'. You know, my daughter is prime, like, young person age. She's 15. And so she is, like, right in the mix when it comes to... I never knew Riz was an abbreviated form of charisma, right? Some people are like, oh, yep, I'm here to educate you guys. You're welcome. Riz is a shortened form of charisma. Never knew. I didn't know what the heck those kids were talking about. So, yeah. I got a lot in common with you, John. Maybe I too can become financially comfortable. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are like this. Like, I tell people, like, I used to skateboard. I'm interested in the stock market. I love poker. But I think that's, like, a lot of guys out there. Skateboarded, love poker, trade stocks, right? Now I'm into watches. Again, it's kind of weird. Like, again, I know some people online that I know watch this channel with, like, a bitter taste in their mouth, right? Because they would talk smack about my wife and I and, like, all this different stuff. But I said it yesterday. I can't help but feel like some of them are copying me, you know? Like, I got this guy, again, he's one of my wife's exes, but he's also been kind of, like, obsessed and kind of off and weird, and he struggled with, like, substance abuse, you know? And you can kind of see it in his behavior. But for a guy that doesn't like us and me, you know, he would just conveniently be into everything I was into. Like, I would be into stocks, and then he would post on his page, oh, I'm day trading on Robinhood, and my wife and I would look at each other and be like, this dude's not really day trading. Like, he's just kind of seeing us talk about stocks, and he's wanting to act like he's interested in it too. And then, you know, we got into some other stuff, and he would copy that behavior, and then I got into, like, watches, right? And then now his image is him with a watch, and it's like him showing the watch off. And I don't know. It's just, maybe I'm looking too much into it. But, yeah. It's off. It's weird, you know. As long as it's not me put the lotion on my skin kind of stuff, then I guess it's okay. I'm just a little skeptical. Oh, I was super into Pokemon cards. I would be slanging, 5th grade, I was slanging Pokemon cards at the bus stop. You know, honestly, if I would have kept my binder, I had this binder full of so many good Pokemon cards. I was super into Pokemon. I watched the anime. I had all the cards. I even played the game, you know, in the 90s, the original, like, Pokemon Surge. It's kind of diluted now, but I had this binder full of, like, all, like, first edition holographic Charizards, like, every good card you can imagine. I had the Japanese one, too, which was, like, the cool Japanese Charizard holographic from the 90s. I had that one, too. I have no idea what happened. I think somebody stole my binder. I used to throw parties at my house when my dad was out of town, and I'm pretty sure somebody got it. Then, I don't know. I like watches. I mean, I'm into watches, but most of my watches are at safety deposit boxes. I don't really keep them on me. But yeah, I've got, like, the what's called the Batgirl Rolex, which is kind of my favorite one right now. I've got a couple cool ones, you know. Yeah, well, that's kind of what we're worried about, Milk. The problem is he doesn't really have the means to do it. Again, he struggled with substance abuse, right? So, you know, it's unlikely. But it's the point is, I'm pretty certain he's at least one of the trolls that showed up here and been weird with the channel, just based off of my interests and his. You know, it's hard to explain. I don't want to go too into detail, if that makes sense. Now, Asperger's generally means you have an above average intelligence. You just lack social, like, skills, but that's definitely not him. Yeah, it's super weird, man. It's really weird. And again, I told my wife, it's like, he's got to get his own life, man. Like, I feel for him because it means that he just doesn't know who he is. Right? And I'm kind of like ADHD in terms of interests. Like, I'm into watches and MMA, and I'm into stock trading and crypto and freaking poker and, like, all these random interests. But what I learned running a stream like this is that it's not that uncommon. It's really not. Like, there's a lot of people like me out there that are into that, all those things, you know, which is cool. Anyways, we're at the top of the range for Nvidia. We're at the top of the range. So again, Nvidia's had this very clear sideways range, You know, the news that came out with Nvidia, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but overseas, they basically think they're catching up with Nvidia in terms of microchips. They think the laws are not going to offer as much protection in terms of, like, growth, limiting growth by U.S. technology overseas, right? So the laws aren't going to do as much, and they think they're only a few years away. And that caused some negative sentiments in Nvidia yesterday, I believe this was. You know, and if you look at Nvidia all day yesterday we had these big drops. And again, my thesis on today is that I think that, like, I think we're down enough to where we could get bullish action short term, really short term. Long term, anything could happen. Medium term, I think we might actually go down some more, but it depends on a lot of factors. But I think short term, we're down enough yesterday. Like, Nvidia's down over 10% yesterday. The NASDAQ is down 3.5% yesterday. And so I think we're down enough short term to where we could, at least bet on some upward action. Although, again, I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Don't copy me. I'm not an investment professional. I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not claiming to be a good trader or anything like that. But, again, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. And then the Jolts job openings report, again, goes live. We also have the Bank of Canada All right, so again, we got the New York Open coming out in about 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so. Job openings. Yeah, this Jolts report is a big report, Chad. It really is. That's me, skater turned. Yeah, I call my dad Pop. Like, I got the black lung pop. If you know, you know. Real ones understand. John, do you think we should have a fee to post comments on YouTube? Of course. It should just go straight to me. Anytime you post a comment, you got to pay John 50 cents. I mean, I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know about direct connections. I mean, he's an old ex that, it's a long story that I'm not going to get into. And again, you can kind of see over time that, like, his life has been kind of a struggle. And I feel for him. I wish him the best. I really don't have any ill will towards him. I genuinely wish him the best, right? Like, I don't have anything negative. Like, it's not like I hope he struggles. And it's not he's not the type of guy where it's like I'm worried about him and my wife in any way, right? Like, my wife's solid, and he is just not, he's not a threat in that way, like, for sure. And so I just kind of feel bad for him. But I am kind of off put by that type of thing, Like, the watch thing is too specific. Like, I'm into watches. They're kind of dude things. But yeah. And again, if he's genuinely into it, let him do his thing. Watches are cool. I like watches. I'm sure he at least does sometimes, Kirk. I don't think I did a poll this morning. My bad. Here, let me do it. Y'all don't understand I got the black lung pop and what that is from? Come on now. Y'all have never seen Zoolander? Come on now, guys. Anyways... Does the market want higher or lower? Or I'm going to say, are you bullish or bearish on the Jolts report? Bull, bear. John's top 3 / see results. All right, vote on the poll. Let me know if you're bullish or bearish on this Jolts report. Is there not more to life than being really, really ridiculously good looking? Yeah, hey. The GOAT. Why can't stocks rally without Nvidia? Because the whole market's resting on AI, is what it is. The whole market is on AI right now. AI is influencing everything in terms of the market. And, yeah. Really. All right, looking at the poll so far here. And the vote on the poll, we're 50-50 split again. 50% saying bull, 46% saying bear, 4% saying John's top 3C results. So milkshake. Today we have what's called the Jolts job opening report for July. It's job openings. It signals economic strength or weakness. The higher the Jolts number is, the more economic strength. The lower the Jolts number is, the more economic weakness. A job it has to fit a couple different criteria for this report. Number one is a specific position exists and there's work available. The job could start within 30 days and there's active recruitment for it. So basically it's economic growth. More job openings signal economic growth. Less job openings signal economic weakness. And it's a good gauge of the labor market overall is what the Jolts report's going to show us, right? And again, it's expected at 8.09 million. Last time it showed up at 8.18 million, 8.18 million. Again, we also have the Bank of Canada rate decision today. So we also have the Bank of Canada rate decision. Tomorrow, we have what's called the ADP non-farm employment change numbers, which is kind of prelim payroll data, right? The ADP non-farm employment change is prelim payroll data. We also have jobless claims unemployment filings. So we also have unemployment filings week to week tomorrow. And then Thursday, we have what's called the non-farm payroll report and unemployment report. So that's actually monthly percentage unemployment as well as actual payroll numbers. So again, typically the prelim payroll numbers come out today on Wednesday, but because it's a shortened week because of Labor Day, now we have the prelim payroll numbers dropping tomorrow on Thursday and then the actual report on Friday. So that's this week. Nvidia starting to bounce though. Nvidia almost up to 107, and again, I think this will lead the market. The VIX coming back down a little bit on this bullish action here too. What's that thing about September being historically bearish? Yeah, it's called the September slump. If we look at, I lost my image here, but if we look at average, I'll have to try to save it. If I go back here and we look at like average S&P returns, September's the worst month for the stock market. By far, it's the worst month out of all the other months, right? It's not a great month. It's a historically a losing month for stocks. And again, if this is the average returns on the S&P according to Bloomberg, the reason it's called the September slump is because on average in September, the stock market drops 1.1%, which is a pretty big thing, right? 1.1% might not seem that much, but you got to take into context that this is good months and bad months averaged to where we have an average drop of 1.1% in September. So in terms of probabilities, it's much more probable that September is going to be red. And a lot of traders take advantage of that. They short, they buy up stuff at the end of the month and look for a rally into the holidays. There's a lot of ways you could try to play the September slump. But again, you can kind of see it's definitely the worst month of the year, percentage-wise by far, versus like the best months of the year, which are like December, which is the holiday season, like retail stuff increases, everybody's buying stuff. And July, you know, people get their holiday bonuses, you know, July, everybody's buying stuff too. So, but yeah, on average, the best months of the stock market, the most volatile, or the most voluminous, I should say, and the lowest volatility months are the holiday months, like October, November, December. The worst, the slowest months are like February, May, just kind of dull months, right? October's kind of slow sometimes too. No, you don't need it, Julian. You can if you want. I think you got to pay extra for it, but you don't need it. Self-fulfilling prophecies are a thing in these markets. Well, they've always been a thing. You know, self-fulfilling prophecies are always a thing in markets. Why? It's because, you know, it's kind of like the volume-weighted average price of the 200 EMA, right? When these two levels are really close to each other, it turns into kind of like a super indicator, in my opinion, right? And so, you know, here's an example of a self-fulfilling thing. When the Q goes back up, right, the Q approaches the 200 EMA, the volume-weighted average price, some traders are watching the VWAP, and they're saying, hey, we're about to hit the VWAP, it might reject, let's sell, Other traders are watching the 200 EMA and they're saying, hey, it might hit the 200 EMA, let's sell. Other traders are watching both of them and they're saying, hey, it's about to hit both of those levels, let's sell. Other traders are watching the top of this range and they're saying, hey, we're at the top of the range, let's sell. And all of this combined is self-fulfilling. You know, traders are getting nervous about weakness. It's mass psychology is what the market really is. And so there's a lot of self-fulfillment in moves because traders fear different things. They're optimistic about different things, you know. So over time, it just kind of makes it to where, you know, fearful, and you got fears and strengths that you can capitalize on. But that's the nature of the market. It's not all fundamentals. You know, the market's much more than just fundamentals. It's mass psychology. It's, you know, what about small caps? They say the fall is good for them. I don't know. I'm not really a big small cap guy. I mean, you can watch like the Russell, which has seen some good increases, but I think it's corrected a little bit. What's the Russell symbol? Is it RTY? Yeah. So the Russell's had a good year. It opened the year off at 1900s. It's now at almost 2200s. But it has seen some red action with everything else over the last 2 days. You know, again, the Nasdaq's down 3.5%, a little bit less than that maybe now, over the last 24 to 48 hours. It's a big drop. Nvidia is what's causing it. Again, Nvidia's down 10% plus, or at least it was. I'll have to check what it is now. Job data being higher than expected is a bearish outlook, correct? No, not necessarily. That's how it used to be. So in an inflation, you got to think about what the market fears, right? If the market fears inflation, economic growth is bad. Why? Because the more people that buy, the higher prices go up. You know, if I put out 100 pieces of bubble gum and by the end of the day they're all gone, what am I going to do the next day? I might bump prices up because I can, you know. Supply and demand. But you have to look at that in terms of the economy as well. You know, so if we're fearing inflation, and inflation is a big priority, meaning inflation spiking up, it's risky, we're not seeing good inflation data, all the inflation data is higher than expected and people are nervous about it. That's the context of the market in which economic strength is going to be seen as a negative. And so in those markets, like we saw that a lot in 2022 and 2023, where inflation was spiking, people were freaking out about it, and every major economic report that came in positive, the market would actually go down. Why? Because people feared strength, because they feared spending. Spending is bad. Unemployment numbers coming in low made the market go down sometimes. Again, why? Because people fear inflation spikes. And when does inflation spikes? And it spikes when you have economic growth a lot of the time. And so, you know, we were in that part of the market for a few years, really. You know, I think that kind of ended a couple months ago. Like I would say like 4 or 5 months ago, we stopped getting that big negative reaction to economic growth, and the market kind of pivoted to where it started to fear recessions and depressions and stuff like that, especially with looming rate cuts. And I think the logic there is that people are afraid of rate cuts because they mean usually historically rate cuts mean something's breaking, right? The Fed gets nervous, they cut rates when you get too much economic weakness. And so I think on the heels of that, the market kind of pivoted back to a good is good scenario where economic strength is seen as a positive and economic weakness is seen as a negative, kind of more back to convention. And yeah, I think that's where we're still at right now. But nobody knows. You know, nobody knows. Anything could happen. I always tell people, you know, economic reports can vary in terms of their reactions. Like one report, we might have a situation where good is good and economic strength is good and economic weakness is bad. And then the next report, you might have the complete opposite thing. It's just the market is a different animal. You don't really know where it's heading, especially in terms of economic reports where there's a difference between the economy itself and the stock market. They're different markets. So, yeah, I think so. Great. But it's like I said, it's never 100% definitive. Yeah, Super Micro going all the way down to 424s as well. Again, really risky stock. Big potential gains, but big potential losses for me as well. I just haven't really messed with that one. And again, I was correct about it. You know, if anybody heard me a few weeks ago, I told people I thought it was really risky and that it could drop huge percentages. And then sure enough, I got kind of lucky with that prediction because the Hindenburg Research short report came out, which of course dumped markets. They dumped Super Micro. All right, we got the Jolts report going live, chat, today. The Jolts report. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, we did get funded on a Topstep account yesterday. Dude, my ears still hurt. They freaking still hurt. You know, jiu-jitsu's funny. I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a couple days off for jiu-jitsu. I'm going to let my ears heal. Haven't missed a class since then. I got these big old magnets that I wear on my ears. It's supposed to prevent cauliflower ear. But my ears still hurt, dude. They still hurt. I don't know. I should probably take a couple days off so I don't have, you know. I mean, I've been told that I've never wanted rate cuts digital. I think rate cuts are bad. I think inflation, I think the real root of the unhappiness that you see from average Joes right now is inflation problems. People are unhappy that inflation has risen so much in the last 5 years. And so real estate is unaffordable. Prices there have gone up dramatically. People's regular spending has increased dramatically. And again, even if inflation data has slowed, and we call it slowed because it doesn't actually go down, it slows down. Prices don't ever actually go down, usually once they go up, aside from certain sectors. And so what this means is that we're stuck with the price increases that we've had over the last 5 years, and the labor market hasn't necessarily corrected, or hasn't really compensated for it in that way yet. And so the real reason people have been unhappy the last 5 years is not from a recession. We're not in a recession, you know. And again, I think it's a political year, so people are really hammering, oh, we're in a recession. It's the worst it could ever be. But again, the real reason people are unhappy is because of price increases over the last 5 years. That's the reason most people are unhappy. And I think with that, I'm okay with maintaining a high interest rate environment and really restricting the economy in that regard to control inflation in a much better way and really kind of get some stagnant inflation over the next few years. I think that's a much better situation. Even if we go into a little mini recession, I think that's better than low interest rate environment, especially not with like economic stimulation like quantitative easing. I think printing money would just pour gas on a fire right now. And so I'm okay with high interest rate environment pushing the economy down a little bit more and slowing inflation more versus pushing for rate cuts and having some economic growth, but ultimately causing more inflation spikes. I'm a big proponent of no rate cuts. I don't think we should cut rates. I think we should wait, push it back as long as humanly possible. But again, like lenders are pressuring everybody. Oh, we need rate cuts. Rate cuts are necessary. Again, rate cuts are going to make inflation worse, unfortunately. And we've already seen price rises. Real estate's up huge. It's just not something we need right now. But again, it's an election year, and the Feds, you know, they're going to cut rates next month. Or this month, actually. Which link, Ty? Which link below the stream? Yeah, so here's the link from the stream. If you want to check it out, check out Topstep. Appreciate the love. Yeah, I know for some people it's going to be $30 for their first purchase. It just depends. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, no, I was asking about the question. Yeah, I have one of the wrestlers' earmuffs. It throws my sound off though, so it's interesting. Yes, long. It's only for new ones, I'm pretty sure. But no, it throws your sound off. Like you would think that sound wouldn't be an issue with rolling, like when you're rolling with somebody and sparring with somebody in jiu-jitsu, you would think sound wouldn't play a factor, but it really does. I wear those head masks, and sound is such a big part of your like peripherals and like the feel of everything that it throws it off. Like it genuinely throws it off. It throws me off when I roll with people with the head mask on. So I just got the magnets that I wear. You know, here's some of them right here. I might put them on right now. Yeah, just don't make fun of me if I wear these. It's not gauges, it's It's cauliflower ear magnets. All right, guys. Short sellers target super micro semiconductors. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how tight it is, Tony. Like anybody that rolls a lot, they understand that, you know, one of the things that's good about jiu-jitsu, and they say jiu-jitsu is good for like Alzheimer's and stuff like that, because being able to think in stressful situations is good for your brain. They've done a lot of studies on this. It's good for self-control, it's good for discipline, and it's good for like other degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and stuff. But the thing about jiu-jitsu is like you gotta be resilient to certain submissions, right? Like when I was new, I would tap to everything. And really, if I roll with like a new person and I guillotine them, they're tapping pretty easy, right? Like they're not fighting their way out about it. They're going to tap pretty quickly. Where if I roll against an experienced person and I try to guillotine them, usually they're going to give me some resistance, right? They're not just going to tap immediately. They're going to post their head off the ground. They're going to try to roll out of it, which I like following them into mount and then having a mounted guillotine. But point is, it helps you think better, and the good people at jiu-jitsu are very resilient to that. And so I guess the point that I kind of went off track on is that verbal tapping allows you to tap easier a lot of the time. Like I can verbal tap, and sometimes in jiu-jitsu you're using both your hands, like gripping or something, and so a verbal tap is necessary a lot of the time. Anyway, SPY at 550s. You know, SPY was getting close to lifetime highs. If I put up the SPY here, it's getting close. Right, exactly, Tony. That's kind of how I do it, too. I try to hold out as long as we can. Right, you use both arms, 100%, yeah. Like I said, I think people that trade understand that for sure. And I train too much. Top 3. Stocks and bonds no longer have a positive correlation, which points to not having inflation fears. Yeah, in some ways, sure. But yeah, the polls are never meant to be accurate, though, Zach. So Zach's talking about poll accuracy. They're never meant to be accurate. They're just gauging sentiment. You know, I've said this before, but if I do a poll on the market overall, usually it's bearish. So usually more people are betting on weakness versus strength. If I do a poll on an individual stock, usually like the fans of that individual stock show up and they'll bet positively on that poll and optimistically towards it. So that is very predictable, you know. And again, I would never base my trades around a poll. We're just looking at what people are thinking on the day and using that as kind of an interesting aspect of everything. Anyways. Yeah. IBM. Yeah, again, I think a lot of people look at IBM, and understandably so. They look at it like a dinosaur. I've had a lot of people bring up IBM as an example of why you shouldn't buy blue chip companies. But when I look at IBM, I mean, in the last 30 years, it's still up ridiculously large percentages, even for an example of a blue chip stock that didn't succeed. And so I still think the way is investing into blue chips, DCAing over long-term and value investing into them. But IBM just broke yearly highs too. The problem with it, I still look at it like a dinosaur because I don't understand what it does. I'm not sure what IBM does nowadays. Let me use AI to look it up. I think they got involved with AI in some sort, ironically enough. I'm sure I'm going to have some people correcting me in chat. Do you mean sometimes I'm right, or do you mean sometimes the poll is right, Zach? Yeah, if Warren Buffett was voting, but even still, it'd be 1 out of 600 and something people. So yeah, oh yeah, IBM got involved with cloud computing, AI, and hybrid cloud solutions. So they now do IBM Cloud, IBM Watson, quantum computing enterprises, cybersecurity consulting, and stuff like that. The company, Michael? Okay, so it's DD. I don't know what DuPont does. The only thing I know about them, really, if I'm being honest, is the movie. They're still a big company, and I don't know what they do. They don't really have the best long-term chart, though. You know, you got some charts where you look at them long-term and they're good, like IBM. You got some charts where you look at them long-term and they're stagnating for the last 20 years. You know, last 20 years, this thing has not moved at all. This thing is completely break-even over a 20-year period of time. It's only up a very small amount, percentage-wise, in 20 years. That's not a company I want to buy. So you might be right. Every time you're live, I got to come through. You have cauliflower ear yet? Not yet. You're right. Yeah, I mean, I think again, I said it before, Zach, and maybe I'm just tooting my own horn. You know, I think it's human nature to want to believe that you're accurate in predictions, but I think my predictions have been pretty solid. You know, I think they're over 50%. I have to go back check it, but I think they're over 50%. And I think, like, people could say a lot of things about me negatively or whatever, but I think I've been pretty accurate about predictions that I've made in markets, especially like medium-term predictions. I think my day-to-day predictions, like, hey, I think the market's going to do this today or that today, might be, you know, but looking at medium-term levels, I think I'm pretty accurate. Maybe not, though. Again, I know I certainly get stuff wrong. Definitely get stuff wrong. Yeah. All right, guys, we got 40 minutes until the Jolts report goes live. We have been trading on Topstep X, and we are going to be trading on there today. So we are funded on Topstep. We got funded yesterday. Nvidia is definitely moving the market some. All jokes aside, I appreciate what you do for everyone, brother. Breath fresh air for all of us. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks. Yeah, you're at like a solid 70% since I started watching. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. I'll have to go back and check. Yeah, Eric. No matter what anybody says about you, I appreciate you. Accuracy, unfair question, a good trader is humble. Yeah, I mean, they say I'm the top 3 most humble ever, you know. But I'd say I'm top 4, you know. You keep it real. I try to. I really try to, right? Like, the least I could do is be honest. And so I try to be honest everywhere, you know. And I think that makes it hard to criticize me, but people find a way. But I try to be honest. I try to be honest about everything. I'm biased. I do this to make money. Like, I got sponsors and affiliates and stuff like that. Not even claiming to be a good trader. I think that's about as honest as I can be. Channel's called Beginner Trading, so we're not trying to be a guru here, of course. Yeah. Again, I feel like the guy with the skateboard every time I say dope. This is me every time I say dope. That's me. Every time I say dope, this is what I feel like. You know. I haven't really got into using facts yet. Like, I feel like this every time I say dope, facts. Never really got into that. Although I have friends that are my age that do. I just can't get behind it, you know. I think at a certain point as you get older, you got to stop using young people slang. Like in my day, we had mixtapes. So instead of saying bars, you would say mixtape coming soon. In my day, we would say tight. Like, that's a tight truck over there. Back in my day, honestly, the kids kind of dressed like we dressed. Baggy pants, neon, you know, bowl cuts. You know, that's actually pretty similar to how we dress. We dressed back in the day. But yeah. Hey, thank you, Maria. Canada rate decision is at 9:45 market time. So 15 minutes after the closing or the opening bell, it's at 9:45. Lit. Yeah, I remember Lit. Again, Lit was a little bit after me. The bomb, that was before me. Groovy? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much the Canadian decision is going to move stuff. I just don't think it's going to move stuff in a big way at all. The bomb? Yeah. There's some stuff that you just look back on and you're like, man. Every new generation gets made fun of by older generations. I think it's life. It's trends. Everything's cyclical anyway, you know? Like, one thing that's very clear is that fashion is cyclical. And so an example is like baggy jeans are cool, and then it moves to skinny jeans, and then skinny jeans are cool, and then it moves back to baggy jeans, and then it moves back to skinny jeans. That revolution of that cycle, again, is very obvious. You see it with everything. Like in the 90s, baggy jeans were cool. Early 2000s, skinny jeans got cool again. Now, like years later, baggy jeans are now cool, and kids are dressing like I dressed in the 90s with JNCOs and baggy pants and torn jeans and stuff like that. Like, that's cyclical. It's very obvious, you know. I tell my daughter this. Like, y'all's generation basically copies what we dressed like in the 90s. They're very 90s heavy. They got freaking record stores at malls now. Like, the mall has record stores. I told my daughter has like a record player. I tell her, I was like, hey, do you think the music sounds better than a record versus your phone? And she was like, yeah, it's just more pure. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, you're not old enough to have nostalgia from records. I'm not old enough to have nostalgia from records. I grew up with CD players. So, you know, young people. Cargo pants, 100% had some cargo pants. We'll put everything in there, dude. I'd have so much stuff in my pockets. Honestly, one of the more practical styles. Yeah, no, skibbity toilet riz is what they say. They say all this other stuff, right? But I can't get behind that. No, I'll use modern slang in front of my daughter as like a troll to her. Like, I'll kind of troll her a little bit to make fun of her. Yeah, I had some airwalks too. I was a skateboarder, so I had airwalks, and then I kind of gravitated. I have some etnies. I wore etnies. I had a bunch of cool skater shoes. Some DCs that were cool, you know. All right, guys. We got 34 minutes left until the Jolts report. We got 3 minutes until the opening bell, 3.5 minutes. Yeah, I don't know about any of that. I don't know the young people stuff very much. Right, Riz is a abbreviated form of charisma. Again, I figured that out a couple weeks ago. I never knew what they were talking about. Yeah, the Jolts job report, very important. Very influential over markets. It will move markets. So... All right. Again, if you want to check out Topstep, we are funded in an Express Topstep account. Topstep gives you a demo. They test your skill with the demo. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail, you only lose what you pay for it. In this case, it's $49 a month. They give you a $50K demo. If you can make $3K in profit without losing $2K first, they fund you. If you fail, you only lose what you pay for it. Again, limited risk, $50 a month. A great way to learn how to day trade, and if you're good enough to pass it, you can get funding and then withdraw it and fund your own account. And the really good thing is Topstep X, the platform you see, has 0 commissions. They have some small fees per trade, but 0 commissions. And I can't even explain how much of an edge that is. You can use micros, which is smaller size, and really kind of scalp like I'm doing with no commissions. It's a powerful thing. They're one of the most legit in the world. They've been around for over a decade. Check them out. Here's the link. They are an affiliate of mine. They pay me money, so I'm biased for sure, but it's just a useful thing, so check them out. There's data and then there's surveys, but wouldn't you consider a survey a form of data? You know, that's kind of like saying there's a Mustang, or that's kind of like saying there's cars and then there's a Mustang. You know, not the horse. There's cars and then there's a Honda Civic. Like, they're both cars, right? So surveys are data. Yeah, so I used to have a drum set, David, that I would record on a tape player the music on the radio, and then I would listen to the music in my head and play the drums along with it. I had a drum set as a kid. All right, anyways, 20 seconds, guys, 20 seconds. All right, here's the opening bell. We got 10 seconds. Let's do this, guys. Here's the open. Yeah, non-farm payrolls on Friday are the biggest thing for sure. Hit the live button. Hit the live button next to the play button, guys. There's the opening bell. Look at Tesla. Tesla popped all the way up over 210s at the opening bell, so it did move up here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just wanted to clarify, Zach. All right, so far we've gotten some red action at the opening bell. A lot of people are going to watch Nvidia, and I do think we could have choppiness leading into the Jolts report. Since it's an influential report, the market could just be quiet leading up to it as possible. All right, guys, so we're sitting here waiting, sitting tight. Yeah, Tesla back up to 212s at the opening bell, kind of helping drag the market up. And so far, we're still in this range here, though, chat. So I'm going to let the opening bell play out first. But we're still in this range. I just got to be careful. Again, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. Make sure we're in sub-only mode. I'm pretty sure we are. Yeah, so we are in sub-only mode. Announce yourself. Show us you're subscribed. Listen, everything we do here is free. We don't charge for anything. We don't sell a course. Don't sell a service ourselves. Don't claim to be good. Put out everything for free. Trade the open live every day. Tony Hawk shoes. I'm not sure who Tony Hawk was sponsored by. I was never a vert skater. Honestly, to be completely honest, vert skating was kind of scary to me. But I was a pretty good street skater. Like, I could do some rails. I could do some stairs. I could, like, double kick flip and 360 flip and do some fun stuff, too. I remember I could, like, dark slide a couple. Like, I remember my friend and I had a rail that we used to use in front of his house. I could, like, dark slide and do some cool stuff on it. Yeah, again, I was never a big vert skater. Yeah, I had a friend that could, and he had a little mini half pipe in his backyard. Yeah, he broke his arm one day, and again, it was just never my thing. I could ride a mini half pipe fairly well and do like some kickflip, like rail stuff, but never could really get some air invert. It was just too yeah, just never could. I always like skate parks more. All right, guys. So again, the Nasdaq moving up. We're still in this range. Watch Nvidia closely. Nvidia is now pushing over the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price. It's still got a ways to go, though. Still got a ways to go. And remember, at 9:45 today, we've got services PMI. Or wait, no, that's tomorrow. I'm sorry. So at 9:45 today, we have the Bank of Canada decision. It's expected to cut rates 25 basis points. So Canada expected to cut rates 25 basis points today. We'll see if they do what's expected or whether they continue to pause rates. Again, I'm not sure what they did last time. I think they might have cut last time too, though. I had some Airwalks that I used to wear for sure. All right, SPY moving up. So we get a nice little rebound in everything here. I'm going to short this because we're at the top of the range. And I'm just going to try to play out what the heck just happened. I don't know if I accidentally clicked. Okay. All right, we got one contract. I'll add a little bit more to it. 2 contracts here. Okay, took a little bit off there. Took a little bit more off, made about 30, 40 bucks. Kind of chipping away at the losses of the day. Yeah, and that happened a couple times for me, Mopar. I never could do a hard flip because it was always too scary of a trick to do. You know, always, every skater understands what I mean. It's been so long since I skated, though. I gave up, like, for a while when I was a teenager, I wanted to go pro. And this was back in the day where we didn't have social media. And so if you wanted to go pro, you had to like put a sponsor me skate video out there, get sponsored by like a skate shop and stuff, and then grow from there. And I was good. I think I was just under how good you had to be to get sponsored, though. I wasn't quite good enough. This was me at like 15, right? I just wasn't quite good enough. And so once I hit 16, 17, like, to be honest, I started getting interested in like girls and friends and all that scene, and you know, stopped skating completely. Never really went back to it. Yeah, so again, Bank of Canada expected to cut rates 25 basis points. Nvidia completely turned all the way down. It's testing the bottom of this range. Now, the big risk here, Nvidia cracks lows. We could get some downward pressure. Again, we also have some neutral activity. It looks like the market could be basing everything off of the Jolts report. Although, look at Nvidia here, guys. So this might drag the Nasdaq down short term if this breaks lows. If it doesn't break, here I'm gonna, yeah. So Ford is up. If it doesn't break lows, again, we could just continue ranging. But if this breaks lows, it could drag everything back down. It could drag the Nasdaq back to the bottom range here. And there's the low break. So Nvidia did just break lows. There's Nvidia falling down some more. Definitely turning more bearish in trend. Alright, so we got 2 contracts here. All right, so somehow we made some money on that big retracement back up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. Somehow we made money on that too. Yeah, for sure, Brandon. I think skating was big in the 90s. It was like the big skater boom, you know. Like I used to, like really what I would do as a kid, like my favorite activities as a kid were like skating. I would skateboard. I also would rollerblade and play hockey at my school's parking lot a lot. as a kid. I had a hockey phase where I was never really good at ice hockey. I tried playing like Pee-wee ice hockey and was horrible at it. I'm pretty sure my friends hated me because I was so bad at it as a kid. But I was good at rollerblade hockey. Like I was okay at roller hockey and rollerblades. So we would rollerblade a lot. This is in the 90s, you know. Get into fights, you know. You know, in the early 90s, it was like martial arts, like Karate Kid was big. I freaking loved Karate Kid and all those movies. Chuck Norris, you know, Sidekick, all that big martial arts push. That was big too. SPY just broke highs. SPY just tapped highs of the day. Let's see if Nvidia ends up rebounding and moving in a sideways direction, or whether it ends up continuing this downward pressure that we're seeing. Yeah, Lord of Dogtown's a pretty good movie for sure. Yeah, in Baton Rouge, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and so we had a place called the Centraplex. It's actually like a big event center. They had the best stairs in the world. It's like the skater's dream, right? Like it really is. They had so many huge stairs. Where like they had 4 stairs and 3 stairs and 6 stairs and 8 stairs, rails. They had like fun boxes. They had all those cool stuff that you could skate on. I'm pretty sure eventually security picked it up. For a long time, though, we used to just go down there and skate. Yeah. Oh, 3 ninjas. The GOAT. It's all good, Corey. Bitcoin Cash, Sammy, is what you're talking about? BCH? I'm assuming that's what you mean is Bitcoin Cash. I mean, I don't know that much about it, you know. Not really something I'm heavily invested into. Nvidia's bearish. Yeah, Nvidia's definitely looking somewhat bearish. Although again, remember it's a release day, and so in that regard, we might get choppy neutral like action based off of it. The big release coming out today. Yeah. Again, guys, remember, check out Topstep. Topstep, funded account program in futures. Do not risk your own money. All day traders lose for the most part, with a couple exceptions. Almost all day traders are going to lose, and it makes no sense to risk thousands of dollars of your own money. Every day trader thinks they're going to be some savant day trader. I'm here to tell you that's probably not happening. Almost all day traders lose. And so instead of risking thousands of dollars of your own money like I did and losing it like I did, try a funded account program. In the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, basically the SPY and Q price action. Very similar to NVIDIA price action, at least currently. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns. No PDT rule. They give you a demo, test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail, you only lose what you pay for it, which in this case, the base one's $49. If you pass it, you get $50K in funding with a 90% split. And if you're good enough, you can then withdraw and fund your own account. If you fail, you only lose $50 basically. It's not the end of the world. It's a great way to learn how to day trade. But again, they're a sponsor. They pay me money. I'm biased because of it. They've paid out over $40 million though. And again, the split's similar to putting the money up yourself at 90%. And so there's not much downside, and it's just a lot cheaper than putting up your own money and losing. So again, if you want to check it out, here's the link. Most day traders lose and they pay me money. I'm biased, of course, but again, very useful program there, I think. Great content and very useful program. Look at the market break highs. The NASDAQ pumping up. NASDAQ up to 460. Again, we are getting choppiness in Nvidia, which is causing choppiness in everything else. We're actually at the very top of the range now. I'm going to start shorting this unless we got some economic data that came out early. Let me make sure. Yeah, we got 3 minutes before the Bank of Canada rate decision. So we are now short. We're at the very top of the range, so I'm starting to short. All right, we took a little bit off, but I think we still lost on that. Small money though, and again, the good thing about Topstep X is that there's no commissions, which is a powerful thing. People underestimate how useful that is. Alright, we're locked in a little bit more. Like I can scalp with micro contracts ahead of these big reports and take little small wins and just let that add up on my funded account. And that's the plan with this. Slowly grinding away. Oof, I gotta cut that. So kind of a flat trade. We're almost completely flat there. Nvidia pumping up though. There we go. A little bit better. I'm trying to get a larger breakdown so I can add to this position, but it's kind of just neutral here, which is kind of what I think we're going to get. Yeah, I'm going to cut that. That's a big retracement back up. Looks like we got out. I think we're net green over the last like few trades, but we're kind of flat. It's not really much. Tesla's pumping up. I do think we're at the top of the range. I'm a little bit late. I could have held it. Wait. Sometimes I click sell and I feel like I accidentally click buy. I didn't mean to. There's 2 contracts. There we go. Take some more. There we go. All right, so we had a nice little string of trades there. So we just made like 40 bucks, 30 bucks. A lot of stuff's pushing back down. Again, we're at the top of the range. It's pretty probable choppy behavior, especially in the next like 15 minutes with the Jolts report dropping. Here's the Bank of Canada decision coming out right now. We'll see if they cut rates. They're expected to cut rates 25 basis points. Let's see if they do, from 4.5 to 4.25, and they did exactly that. They cut rates 25 basis points. Bank of Canada 25 basis point cut. Let's see if it makes the market move a little bit. Again, Bank of Canada cut rates 25 basis points. They're now at 4.25. 4.25. I am using Topstep X Lisa, which is, again, you know, Greek yogurt is bad. You don't like Greek yogurt, bro? The ones that get me, and again, I know they're not good for you, but the ones that they have, like the s'more. What are the Oreo, or not the s'more yogurt, where you take the thing and you put the things in it and you stir it up and it's like yogurt. There's like a s'more flavor. My wife buys it. I don't know what it's called, but they're good. They're pretend healthy, though. Anyways, NASDAQ pushing up. SPY testing that previous closing price from yesterday, where it rejected recently on that previous closing price. It doesn't mean it's not going to continue to make another push, though. Again, I'll put the SPY up here on the right side. Here's the SPY. You see the previous closing price right here that we rejected. Yeah, it's called Chobani flips is what they're called. Those are good. What does it mean when they cut rates? So rate cuts are influencing short-term interest rates, right? So usually all I can go by is what the US does. I'm not sure if Canada is parallel with that, but they're controlling short-term interest rates. When we talk about cutting rates here in the U.S., what we're really talking about is lowering short-term interest rates. Why is this significant? Because that controls, eventually it's short-term, right? So it's called the federal funds rate in the U.S., where we're lowering the federal funds rate. It's the interest that banks charge each other to hold money overnight or to lend money overnight. It's short-term interest rates, but eventually that trickles into long-term rates. And so the Federal Reserve influencing rates eventually is going to trickle into mortgages, auto loans, lending interest rates overall in the country of the United States, right? So by them lowering short-term interest rates, eventually it's going to lower long-term rates like mortgages, auto loans, and stuff like that. And so the reason they do it is to influence the economy. If the economy is going to struggle, or they think the economy is going to struggle, they can lower interest rates, bring interest rates down. And what does this do? Eventually, there's a lag of about 6 months to a year, but eventually this unlocks cheaper leverage, like cheaper interest for people, cheaper access to money. And what happens when people have cheaper access to money? They generally start spending more. And so if the economy is facing like a recession or a depression risk, the Federal Reserve can lower interest rates, stimulate the economy in that regard, allow people much cheaper access to money, and ultimately stimulate spending, increase spending. And so if the market's struggling in terms of spending, it can stimulate that in that regard. And the opposite is true when they raise interest rates. If inflation is a problem and they want to control inflation and bring inflation down, they can raise interest rates to consumers, which is what we've seen over the past few years, which is called a hawkish Fed, a restrictive monetary policy Fed, where they're raising interest rates to consumers, trying to discourage inflation, push inflation down, but ultimately causing more expensive access to money, like less free money, or less cheap interest, I should say, instead of free money. And again, they both can be good or bad depending on the context of the economy. All right, guys, look at markets pushing up. Nvidia just broke highs. And again, I'm not going to say I told you guys. But again, base extension and balance is a very powerful thing that a lot of people miss out on in markets. I'm not even saying we continue down, but base balance extension is powerful. You know, like even the last few CPI reports, I've gotten, I would say, at least over 50% of the last CPI reports correct, just basing it off of a balanced prediction. And so balance is a useful tool in investing and trading. It's probably one of the most underappreciated aspects of prediction in the market that you can use, to be honest, right? Just simple balance. If the market's down really big yesterday, more probable that it's going to go up a little bit today, at least at the opening bell like this, right? Doesn't mean it's going to hold, but in just sheer balance, people covering profit and shorts, like there's a lot of reasons behind it, but use it. I'm not saying anything. Don't copy me, not an investment professional. Top 3 worst predictor of all time in the world, and best at the same time. But Tesla breaking highs up 216. See, I like this song with the actual singing, but it's got words in it. Yeah, free money glitch. Yeah, with Chase going on right now. Yeah, people are dumb. Hey, what's up, Dean? Again, the market's kind of choppy right now. Again, look at my little code here. So I'm going to put up the NASDAQ here. Check this little code out. So I built this code. Check it out. It's not perfect for sure. I might have gotten this one wrong. Actually, it didn't. We got some breakdown. So look, that's one right. Like, look how accurate this is. Look at this. Literally predicted the very bottom here. Where'd it go? Whoa. Weird. Look at this. Literally, wait. Man, I went back days. I don't know what happened. But yeah, check this out. Look. Literally predicted the very bottom. Boom. Literally predicted the very top. Boom. Again, I'm not going to give you guys the logic behind it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but look at this. Literally predicted the bottom. I guess it's easy, though, whenever we're in a sideways range. Look at that. Predicted the top. I have to keep going back and testing it and, like, back testing it, but again, look at that. It's pretty accurate. Like, look at that little bottom pick. It's not perfect. Nothing is, but genuinely pretty nice. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. This one maybe didn't work. All right. Tesla rip it up to almost 220s, man. Tesla freaking volatile. Yeah, definitely top 3 worstish, best ever. John the Legend. I don't know if it's John Legend, but it's John the Legend. Where's gold at right now? I know it dipped a little bit overnight with everything else. Actually, no. Gold broke lifetime highs yesterday. Or no. I'm sorry. This is monthly chart I'm looking at. My bad, guys. Yeah, gold pulled back a little bit. Sorry. All right, guys. We got 7 minutes. 7 minutes. What's best case and worst case scenario for the report in terms of fighting inflation? I mean, fighting inflation, best case scenario is that we have economic growth with more job openings, but inflation stays stagnant, right? Like, that's the best case scenario, really. Or inflation literally goes down. It's super improbable, but it's possible, I guess. Worst case is that economic reports are weak, but inflation spikes anyway. So, SPY just broke over the previous closing price as well, starting to edge higher. Remember, the lifetime highs on the SPY are at 565s. We're at 552, so we're within a range of the lifetime highs on the SPY. There's no free money app. I didn't mean free money. I meant I'm in a dovish Fed, a less restrictive Fed unlocks cheaper access to lending and money through cheap interest rates. Same reason the yen carry trade drama happened. Definitely doesn't mean free money. I keep missing the dip buy on gold. I would just be careful, Dean. Gold can downtrend for a decade plus, right? Like, gold is good long term, like if you're holding something for 20 years. But short term, it can downtrend for a decade. And that's why, like, buying gold's not always the best move. You can buy gold and have to sit on a losing trade for 5 to 10 years. Or you can sit on a winning trade for 5 to 10 years. And long term, it's a great inflation hedge. I think the best time to buy gold is not when it's breaking highs. It's when it's pulling back, and you can kind of DCA into it on big long-term pullbacks over a few years and have some really nice gains on gold. But again, short term, it's volatile and risky. Or long term, it can be volatile and risky too. Oh yeah, day trading gold's different. My bad. Sorry. Probably should have read it better. I retract my previous statements. Yeah, again, we got 5 minutes chat. We got about 1,000 people watching live. I appreciate everybody being here and joining me for today. Yeah, we'll see what we get. Honestly, I'm ready for it. What's up, Melody? All right, let me look at the poll. We got the poll we got so far. How many votes? 750 votes. 48% are bullish on today's report. 45% are bearish. 7% think John's top 3, so I appreciate you guys. Yeah, we'll see. What are you looking for with Jolts? I'm not really looking for anything. I'm looking just in terms of the reaction that we get for the markets. I think the market, at least recently, has shown good is good and bad is bad scenario in which economic growth is seen as a positive, which is not the case over the last few years. But I think recently we've seen economic reports. We've seen the market react to economic reports in a similar fashion in which good is good, economic strength is good, economic weakness is bad. But again, any individual report can be wildly different than this, and so it doesn't actually mean anything. So just be careful, guys. Not telling you to buy anything or anything. Yeah, for sure, Dean. All good, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, just like I said, gold. My wife is always like, "Hey, buy gold, buy gold." And what I tell her is, gold's great long term. If I'm holding something for 25 years, gold's one of the best options, really. Silver, gold, precious metals. Again, the problem is that they can downtrend for a long period of time. And so if you get unlucky, you can buy gold and have to sit through a 25% drop over like a 5-year period. And that can be kind of a hard thing if you're not used to that. Patience wins in gold, though. Generally speaking, when you zoom out a long term, it's had some of the best gains in the market. It's like 7 or 8x, maybe more than that over the last 20 years versus the S&P, which is about 4x, 4.5x. And so gold has outperformed the S&P if you look at a 25-year period of time. But again, it can also downtrend for a decade, so it's not zero risk. And the biggest winners in gold are long-term holders that have got in decades ago that are still holding. Just met Finn for breakfast, and we both had your video on. Hey, nice, man. Appreciate it, Kumar. Thanks. Appreciate you guys. Apple is falling. Is it really? All right, guys. We got 2.5 minutes for Jolts. We got about 1,100 people watching. Thanks so much. Hit the subscribe button, guys. Hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, Apple's been falling dramatically over the last few days with everything else, but yeah, so this is an actual funded account on Topstep. We're gonna wait until this finishes and then day trade some. Carnival Cruise. Yeah, I mean, again, I genuinely think what I'm best at. Jolts report expected at 8.09 million, guys. 8.09 million. It drops in 1 minute. Expected at 8.09 million. Last time it showed up at 8.18 million. 8.18 million. It's expected at 8.09 million. Greater than expected means economic growth. Lower than expected means economic weakness in general. Never 100%. Never 100% in terms of reactions either. We don't know. Nothing's definitive. It's always watch a reaction instead of trying to predict it. And it can react sensibly or non-sensibly. Yeah, it is the September slump, and we're already feeling that 4 days into September. Really nasty few days. All right, guys. Whew, we got the Jolts report. Here we go. 20 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream. The reason we got 1,000+ people here is because we try to cover it pretty quickly. We can't guarantee anything, but we'll try to cover it pretty quickly. We got a few really good sources that give us this data quick. So, again, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate the love. And here's the report. 5 seconds, guys. 5 seconds. Yeah, this is a little bit early. It's actually not time yet, but we got 2 seconds, 1 second, and here's the report. All right, so factory orders came out greater than expected for factory orders. Jolts report much lower than expected, 7.673 million. Much lower than expected Jolts report. 7.673 versus 8.09 million. So much lower than expected Jolts report. Less job openings than expected, showing economic weakness. And again, as we suggested, the market is negatively reacting to this report. I didn't suggest the market would negatively react. I meant that I thought the market would have a positive correlation, meaning higher is better, lower is worse, and we got lower. Sometimes the first move is the wrong move, and so this is not the biggest move, but we did have a big reaction to this Jolts report. Look at this reaction here. Again, Jolts report, I'll put the numbers up, 7.67 million versus 8.1 million expected. So here is the report. Again, a big negative reaction so far for the Jolts report. Big dump, big drop. Bostic also says, quote, we must not maintain a restrictive policy stance or I don't know what the rest of that. Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, it's a big move for a 10 a.m. report, 100%. Definitely not a small move. But again, sometimes the first move is the wrong move, and so just be careful. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I don't know. Generally, I'm short biased with this. But sometimes that first move is just the completely wrong move, and you got to wait for it. So again, we will see. Y'all be careful. And again, we are day trading on Topstep X. The useful part of Topstep X is that there's no commissions, which is powerful in these funded account programs. They have some of the best rules in the game in funding. So if you get funded, some of the best funding rules in the game, you can DCA. There's no commissions on Topstep X. It's just a powerful thing. Again, Topstep gives you a demo. They test your skill with a demo account. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you with an actual account between 50 to 150K with a 90% split. Again, it's a useful thing. You can see they paid out over $40 million. They're going to give you a 50K demo. If you can make 3K in profit without losing 2K first and following these rules, they fund you 50K, 90% split. And then you can take that funded account if you're good enough, withdraw it and fund your own account, but you got a 90% split anyway, which is similar to putting the money up yourself. And as I said, look at this rebound. Exactly what I said could happen did, which is we rebounded completely, and the first move is completely retraced already. It doesn't mean we're going to continue up, but we have basically retraced this entire move already. And again, there's no PDT in futures. You can day trade short, buy market, sell market, very similar to day trading stocks, and the patterns are similar. I can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, gold, some currencies, and most pro day traders trade futures. And so try them out. Great way to learn how to day trade. And if you pass it, you get a funded account with a 90% split. If you fail it, you only lose the monthly subscription. The base one's $49. It's not the end of the world. So it's limited risk. You're still risking something, learning how to trade under pressure. But if you pass it, you still get a 90% split, similar to putting the money up yourself. Again, you can see they paid out over $40 million. They've been around for over a decade. Again, zero commission on Topstep X. If you're going to use a platform, I think Topstep X is the one. And again, I'll put the link up if you want to check it out. Here's the link. They are a sponsor, though. They pay me money. I'm biased. But again, there's the rebound. Yeah, so a complete retracement back up, guys. A complete retracement back up. Yeah, definitely not a good report, 100%. Yeah, it depends on the context of it, though. The economy has shown okay signs recently, so it hasn't been the end of the world in that regard. Like, the economy's been okay. Unemployment's still on average relatively low versus average. Inflation has been okay as well, right? So it's definitely not good, but I wouldn't say it's the end of the world report either. I think the report that matters much more than today even is Friday. Friday's unemployment and non-farm payroll report is massive, and it's going to be much more influential than the Jolts report, which did have a kind of a big reaction to it. Again, though, right now we're kind of choppy and neutral. I don't know how I feel about this. So watch Nvidia closely here. How has Nvidia reacted? Nvidia now at 106.50s. 140-point drop and bounce back 100 points. Yeah, and then it's kind of retraced the bounce back too. So chopping people out today. Y'all just be careful. Oh, 100%. And recession signs could accelerate too. Again, that's what I'm saying. The report Friday is the big one. That's the one you want to watch and pay attention to, because that report has the ability to just wildly influence everything. So payroll numbers are the one. Like, unemployment's important, especially in the context of inflation fearing or recession fearing. Like markets, people fear recessions. Payroll numbers are important, but unemployment numbers are also important. But the one that has the big influence, like an example of this, is if unemployment comes in low, but payroll numbers also show up low, the market might negatively react to it, because payroll numbers are going to trump unemployment numbers in that regard most of the time, right? It's not 100%, it's not definitive, but that's generally what we'll see. It's kind of like EPS and revenue. Revenue is generally more important than margins, just in terms of optimism looking forward for companies. So it's at 8:30 Friday. So non-farm payrolls and unemployment are at 8:30 on Friday. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy this dip. Oh wait, I can't trade right now. It's news, so I gotta wait for the news to pass first, which is fine. I don't really like trading big news reports either, so I'm okay with it. You gotta wait for the news to drop. I don't know if they're gonna make you wait 10 minutes after the report or what. Oh, is it really? Let me see. Yeah. Here, let me check. I always love when people call me losers, but they spell it looser, like Looser. That's looser. Loser is Loser. So you gotta learn how to spell it if you're gonna call somebody that, you know. Yeah, so I'm not sure if Topstep is down. Let me find their Discord. Let me join it. Let's make sure they're not fixed. Yeah, they're still down. Yeah, sorry, I'll check on it. There it is. Does this show confidence that they will still cut rates? Yes, this shows more likely. So again, the Fed will cut rates if the economy looks weak. Anything that shows a weaker economy means it's more likely that we're going to cut rates, not less likely. A thriving economy means it's less necessary to cut rates. A weaker economy signals it's more of a need to cut rates, right? And so with economic data coming in lower than expected, what does that signal? That signals more of a need to cut rates in the Fed's eyes and a greater chance that they're going to cut rates. And again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I appreciate the love. Okay, yeah, so they say Topstep is aware of the issue and tech is working on it. So just for everybody that is unable to trade on Topstep, again, they're aware of the issue and they're working on fixing it. So just a heads up. So anyways, it's all good. Look at the market pump though. Look at Nvidia pump up here. Is AMC and GameStop up? Yeah, it's funny. People are like, you're a loser. But it's like they spell it looser, Looser. And it's like, all right. It's kind of like somebody insulting your intelligence, but they have like, they don't know how to spell, you know? You know. Dunning-Kruger, guys, Dunning-Kruger. You know, he's Freddy Krueger's uncle, by the way. Hey, thank you, Dean. I appreciate the love. Thanks, brother. Where does JPOW present interest rate information? What date? So it's called the FOMC meeting. We'll stream the whole thing live. You seem like a pretty loose dude. I'm top 3 loose as ever. Listen, trust me, I've been around. Okay, you know, no, no, I'm just joking, of course. Hey, baby, how you doing? You doing okay? All right, guys. Sorry, my wife came in, so I was talking to her. Yeah, so the yield curve uninverting. Okay, so Topstep is back up, guys, by the way. So Topstep back up. I'm going to try to buy into this here. We got 2 contracts. Topstep back up. Don't do it to me. Rebound. All right, we're going to take 3 contracts. So we're going to let this be our swing of the day. Back up to flat. There we go. We take a piece off. Take another piece off. All right, so we just made a small amount of money there. A small amount. We will add it right back if we retrace this. All right, we're back down. We'll add to that. Take a piece off there. See, this is the good thing about Topstep is that I can take small size here with micros, and since there's no commission, I can literally just scalp super easily doing that. You see that? So this is the powerful thing. I'm honestly genuinely excited to trade my funded account on Topstep. I'm genuinely excited. The rules after your funding are nice. I can DCA into it, and there's no commission, which is, again, the powerful thing. I was down $200. I've been scalping micro contracts, and I'm basically flat on the day now, which is a great thing, right? Like a great thing, and you can kind of see what I did here. Again, I'm not trying to spam it. Yeah, the wife did come in when I was bragging about how loose I were. That's my new nickname, Lucy John, you know. But yeah, again, it's just genuinely useful, right? I'm not going to say that, Lisa. I'm going to respectfully decline to, you know. I like both companies. You know. And they're both good in their own ways, right? But yeah, if you want to check out Topstep, there's the link. Powerful thing. Just, again, try Topstep X. If you haven't been on Topstep X, the edge that you can use is powerful, in my opinion. And look at Nvidia run. And so far we were correct. Even with bad economic data, the market's bouncing up a little bit. For example, people will set their limit for a crazy high or crazy low right after a report, so it looks like action is happening in that direction. Yeah, maybe. You might set yourself up for a bad impression. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just joking. Somebody tried to call me a loser, and they spelled it L-O-O-S-E-R, and so I'm just kind of trolling them a little bit with the loose thing. Why is the first move wrong? Because the first move a lot of the time is algorithmic, and so what happens a lot of the time is like you have algorithms that try to predict the action, but traders end up buying it up or covering and taking profit. I gotta shave this beard, man. And so sometimes there's a lot of reasons the first move is wrong. Profit taking is one of the easiest explanations for it. What do you think about Nvidia midterm to long term? I thought it was going to go up. I think long term I'm super bullish on Nvidia, but short term anything could happen. John, can I ask why don't you try to leave a position open for a longer period of 1 to 2 hours? Because I don't really have time to manage a position in that way. Yeah, it's just I don't really have time to manage a position in that way. All right, so again, look at Nvidia test this previous closing price. So again, just to put this into perspective, guys, and this might mean stocks are indecisive right now. Here's the previous closing price on Nvidia. We're basically completely flat relative to yesterday's close. Like, this is the previous closing price, and this is where we are now, right? So we haven't basically moved. We're slightly red overnight for Nvidia. And again, the same thing on the SPY. Here's that level on the SPY. It's right there. And so right now, I guess the point is that the market could be indecisive. The bigger report versus today's Jolts report even is the non-farm payroll report on Friday, right? That report, we generally have thousands and thousands of people watching my stream. It's a huge report. Unemployment's very relevant for current markets too. And I think the market is kind of indecisive right now. It's kind of flat. We're up slightly since the opening bell, which is, again, kind of my thesis earlier in the day, is that I think we could rebound. And I think a lot of people are giving me credit, which is nice today. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Again, I'm not even claiming to be a good trader. But, you know, I think, you know, we can have some good theses about stuff. But yeah. yeah, the job report came out. It was lower than expected, showing more weakness in the economy than expected. Came out at 7.63 million versus 8.1 million expected. So lower than expected. And with that said, though, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I love you all. Again, what I'm really excited about, genuinely excited, is Topstep X's no commission. Powerful thing. I love using micros, and on Topstep X, I can trade micros. I can trade exactly how I want to trade with zero commission, and that's a powerful thing, right? A powerful thing. I'm genuinely excited, even though I'm slightly down today on this account. I was down hundreds of dollars, and I basically made it all back net, which I'm really happy about, really pumped about. And the zero commission thing is a freaking game changer. So again, if you want to try a funded account program, check them out. Link is in the description. I love you all. Y'all have a great day. Again, y'all be safe in this market, guys. Be safe in this market. Again, tomorrow we have jobless claims, unemployment filings, as well as the prelim non-farm data at 8:15 in the morning. So we'll be here bright and early tomorrow. I love you all. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Be careful. I'll see you guys tomorrow.